Today on Cassidys Craveable Creations, we're going to show you how to frost a flawless semi-naked cake for beginners. Before we start frosting today's semi-naked cake, I'll have the link to the cake recipe that I'm using and the frosting recipe that I'm using in the link below. To frost a semi-naked cake, you don't need any special equipment except a bench scraper. You can get by with not having anything else, but as long as you have a bench scraper, you'll be fine. As an optional step, if you would like to pipe some of the frosting around the edges like I'm going to do, instead of just scooping it on, you can take either a Ziploc baggie or a piping bag, and you can just cut the edge off and use that, or you can add just a round piping tip to the ends and stick it through. If you use a Ziploc baggie, you can just snip the corner of it. And then once you get the piping tip in, you can place it in a wide mouth, a glass, or I'm using this mason jar. Hold it around the edges. And we're just gonna scoop some of my keto vanilla frosting in there. Thank you. Yeah, you gotta kind of push it down in there. So let's just push the frosting to the bottom. Okay. And this recipe is for beginners, and I assume most beginners don't have a lot of equipment, so we're not using a turntable. But if you have a turntable, just put a cake board under your cake so you can easily transfer it. So the first step before you start frosting your cakes is you need to take a serrated knife and totally level your cakes because you don't want them domed in any way. Our cakes, surprisingly, they're the most level cakes I've ever seen. So I don't know why they ended up so level. They never do. But if your cakes aren't super, super level, even if there's a tiny dome in the middle, you need to slice it off so they stack evenly. Okay, so once your cakes are trimmed, you're just going to add a little bit of frosting to the cake plate so your cake doesn't move around while you're frosting it. So just kind of spread it on here. Yeah, and then
that's interesting.
When you add your first layer of cake, you always turn it upside down so the flattest part is on the top. So I'm going to try to just lay this right here in the middle. I think that's the middle. And since we're not using a turntable and we're not transferring this is the actual cake plate. I slide 4 pieces of parchment paper under the edges because I'm super messy, and so when you get done, you don't have to clean up all the frosting around the edges, which is a nightmare. You can just pull the parchment paper out. So you want to help me? Or just slide some parchment paper underneath the edges. Yeah. So like I said at the beginning of the video, you can just scoop the frosting out and put it in the middle and spread it. But I find when I do that, it's always kind of uneven and lopsided. So I like to pipe the frosting and then just spread it. It's because it just makes a nice even layer. And so I just go all the way around the cake right on the edge. There we go. So then I know about how thick it needs to be. And then I just scoop a little bit of frosting in the middle and spread it out. You want to help me here? Okay.
I'm a little concerned though because...
You want me to do it?
No.
You want me to do the first layer and you can do the other ones?
No, I can
Okay. And Caleb here has never frosted a cake.
Never in my life.
And so if he can do it, anybody can do it.
That's probably true for a lot of things. Do I mix it with the side?
Yeah, that's just kind of there to guide you about how far out to put the frosting and how thick the frosting needs to be.
And does it need to be totally covered, the cake part?
Yeah, we need it totally covered. And then, yeah, this can kind of, yeah, that's good.
More.
Yeah, I need just
I think I'm being a little not aggressive enough with the icing.
Okay, so now let's just add our second layer. And I think that when you frost...
Spell my name in it.
When you frost a semi-naked cake, I think it just looks really beautiful if you have at least 3 layers. So I always cook mine in 3 pans instead of 2. You don't have to, but I just think it's really beautiful.
This one goes upside down too?
Yeah, they all go upside down, and so the flattest part's on the top. Let's just kind of drop it on, and you want to make sure it's nice and even. Don't want it lopsided. And if one side's higher than the other, you can just kind of slightly press in on the frosting to make it level. You think that's level? It doesn't look lopsided, does it?
Looks great.
If you turn it, it all looks even.
Super good.
Okay, yeah, you don't want a lopsided cake.
No.
So you want all of the layers to be even. So we're going to do the same thing.
Food.
No, especially cake. You want pretty cake.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I'm just going to put some piping around the edge of the next one. And if you have a filling recipe, like you want to add lemon curd or some jam or something, you can pipe on some frosting on the edge and then put the softer filling in the middle, and the piping will hold it in the cake so it won't ooze out. So if you want to experiment with some different flavors and fillings. Okay, let's add the top layer. Let's see. You have to help me make sure this is straight.
Why is it called a semi-naked cake?
Well, a true naked cake would be just like this, with just frosting in the middle, and the two inside layers, and then on the top. And then a semi-naked cake is actually just a crumb coat. And your next question, I assume, is
what's
a crumb coat? and not coat. Yeah, coat.
It's crumb coat.
Crumb coat. Yeah. Well, a crumb coat is exactly what it sounds like. It's the first layer of frosting that basically just seals in all the crumbs, and so they don't get on the outer layer of frosting. But it's a really beautiful, elegant way to frost a cake, and it's become really popular. And it provides a barrier for the cake, and so it doesn't dry out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the sides. We're going to start at the bottom, and we're just going to basically cover all the way around, and then we'll show you how to get that beautiful semi-naked look using the scraper. Okay, so we'll start at the bottom. Here, I'll show you. Just kind of start right here and add frosting and work our way up and go all the way around and just add a nice coat of frosting. Now the cake is fully covered in frosting, and here's where the magic happens with the bench scraper. So before we start, the more perpendicular you hold it, the more it's going to scrape frosting off, and then the closer you hold it to the cake, the more it's just going to smooth the frosting. And I kind of like mine with just a little bit more frosting, so I'm going to hold mine a little bit closer to the cake just to kind of smooth it out. And I'm just going to go apply real steady pressure and just go around. This is where a turntable comes in handy, because you can just hold it in one spot and spin it. But we don't have a turntable, but you don't have to have one. And you be careful not to puncture the cake either. I think I punctured it just a tiny bit, so I'm going to add a little bit more frosting right there at the bottom and go around again. And if there are any low spots in your cake, you can always go back and add a little bit more frosting. If there are too many crumbs in your cake and you don't really like it, after you finish, you can put it in the fridge for 15 to 20 minutes, let the frosting set, and then repeat the whole process again on the outside and top of the cake, and there will be no crumbs and it will still look gorgeous. Once you finish the edges, it's time to do the top and make beautiful straight lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold this perpendicular on the edge, and we're just going to scrape inward. We're going to go all the way around the cake. Just kind of scrape it right in. And I think this is called airplaning. I'm not 100% sure on that. If anyone knows what this is actually called, you can let me know in the comments below. Okay. Scrape this off. Okay, so once you finish, you can just go back through your cake, and if there's any bare spots, you can just kind of touch them up with a little bit of frosting and then go back over with your bench scraper and just kind of go through and make any touch-ups that you want. And then if you need to touch up the top again, you can just barely scrape it towards the middle. Keep that nice sharp edge around the edge of the cake. There's a few bare places I just want to touch up a little bit. And then I'll just scrape it, and then we will decorate the top.
And then you get to eat it.
And then we get to eat it, the best part. Yeah, we're going to eat it. Now for the fun part, we are going to decorate. Okay, let's just pull this parchment paper out from underneath the cake. Can you get those two?
Mm-hmm. That was such a smart idea.
Why, thank you. I should have left my bench scraper. I could touch up these little edges. Oh well, that's okay. No big deal. And so you can leave it like this. It's gorgeous as is, or you can decorate it any way you like. You can be as creative or simple as you prefer. I think what I'm going to do is let me show you. I'm just going to hype just a little decoration around the edge here. Just something really simple. You just put some even pressure on it and lift up.
That's awesome.
You like it?
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you. And now I like to just add some fresh berries on the top. You can do sprinkles, whatever you like. I'm just going to put, I just usually put a couple strawberries kind of in the middle here. And then I'm going to sprinkle on some blueberries and some blackberries. And some people, they don't like fresh flowers on their cakes. Totally understandable. You do not have to put flowers on, but I think they're really beautiful. And I just washed them and dried them really good. And if you want to actually stick them in the cake you can wrap them with plastic wrap like I did, so they're safe to put in the cake. So I'm just going to kind of stick this in the side of the cake right here up to where the plastic wrap is, kind of on the side. And I don't know, I might add a few more pieces of fruit. What do you think? Maybe another strawberry?
It's beautiful.
What do you think?
It's almost too good.
You like
to,
it? Put a few on the edges. I'm going to put some...
like a piece of art.
Yeah, I'll put some fresh flowers here on the side.
It's almost too pretty to eat.
Actually, I might put the fresh flowers. Yeah, I'll put them right there. That's really pretty.
Yeah.
And I like to just kind of sprinkle the fruit with a little bit of powdered sugar just to make it even more beautiful. Or that's actually my keto powdered sugar. So I just sprinkle it a little bit. And there we go. Now you know how... Thank you.
I can't wait. It's beautiful.
I know. I'm really excited to try this.
I didn't do much today. I'm not going to lie.
No, you did a lot. You helped a lot. So
now
you know how to frost a flawless semi-naked cake.
And be sure and like us below.